for the record say and spell your first and last name, please?
First name is David, last name Diaz, D-A-V-I-D, D-I-A-S.
Thank you. Mr. Diaz, are you currently employed?
I am not, I'm retired.
Where are you retired from?
Retired from Procter & Gamble, Coty, and living in Canada right now.
Okay. The jury's heard some background on those three companies. Can you tell us what your role was with Procter & Gamble?
In the latest role with Procter & Gamble, when I moved to the U.S., I was head of trade marketing here in Los Angeles at our Woodland Hills office. And then as Procter & Gamble divested in 2016, I kept a similar role with Coty and became a VP of sales for the company and led the integration work between the two companies.
During your times first with Procter & Gamble, did you work with Fabio Sementilli?
I did. So in Canada, I was the first Procter & Gamble employee that got transferred to the Wella division. It was an acquisition that Procter & Gamble had done, and so I transitioned September 2006 to assume the leadership role for the Canadian division.
So Procter & Gamble acquired
Wella, correct.
Okay.
And then I met Fabio sometime that September in 2006.
Do you know what Fabio was doing around that time before he came on board?
He owned a salon with his sister, but for the Wella company, he had been what we would have called an independent contractor, top stylist, platform artist for the company, and did education to the stylist community on a contract basis.
Okay, and then if you could explain, as you were starting to say, how he came on board.
So when I came on board, the person that I was assuming the role from, Joy Newsy, had said to me, Dave, we've got this stylist. I think he'd like to change careers and join the company, but it's going to be your decision as you get to know him if he's the right person for you, because you're going to be taking over the business. And so as I got to know Fabio through 2006 and into 2007, we had discussions about him coming on as a permanent employee to lead our education team.
And then what happened after that?
After that, he did a fantastic job. We learned a lot from each other, because I was more of a corporate guy and he was an artistic mind and very passionate about the industry, so he taught me that part of the business. And I tried to teach the business side of the role that was important that he was walking into as well. And through that time, he then became, with my boss in Los Angeles, a candidate for promotion that we had our eye on to have him transferred to the U.S. And so I believe it's sometime in 2010, I had the discussion with him about this opportunity, and it would be great for his career. And to continue to grow his business side for the business as well, but play a bigger role with the stylist community in North America.
Subsequent to that, did you go to dinner with him and his wife in order to discuss this possible move to the United States?
Yes. For Fabio, he said that getting Monica on board to this move for him, for this career move, was going to be very important, because he wouldn't do it otherwise. He felt that she was very close to her family, her sisters, parents, and this would be a difficult move for her to possibly go, but she would need to understand what was involved in that. So we arranged to take Fabio and Monica, so myself, Ruben Perons, and my boss from Los Angeles, out for dinner, and for me to help explain to Monica what it's like to do a transfer to the U.S.
If I could interrupt you, you're referring to someone by the name of Monica. Do you see that person in court?
I do.
Can you please identify where that person's sitting, what that person's wearing?
At the end of the desk in a black jacket.
And just for time frame, what time frame is this around when you go to dinner?
It was, I have to believe, late winter, spring maybe of 2010. It was before a decision had to be made to move, and I think they made the move in the summer of 2010, so it was in around that time.
During this dinner, then, what did you discuss as far as any company benefits?
I explained to her, again, from my personal experience moving to the U.S. the first time, the company, very, very generous. They try to make it very easy on the family, and with awareness what is needed for a spouse as well, so they would handle all the move for the costs. There'd be housing subsidy, early on to rent. There'd be a purchase plan. If they were chose to buy a house, there'd be some support for that. There'd be the opportunity for Fabio for greater opportunity for growth in his career, as well as it did for me, and that would mean more in stock options that would be available one day should he climb to the next level. Income support to buy a car, as a interest-free loan to do that. There was spousal support if they want to do an education program, as well, because it was very important that the whole family was looked after and felt comfortable, because that would then enable, us, the transferee, to do well at our job if we felt that everything was stress-free of the things that are controlled.
So based on after that dinner, did the Sementillis then agree to relocate to Woodland Hills?
They did, yes.
And when was that?
I believe the physical move may have been summer of 2010, but it was sometime in 2010.
Okay. Okay, so after they after they moved to Woodland Hills, what was your relationship then with both the defendant and Miss Fabio Sementilli?
Mine was, so I remained in Canada as a Canadian leader. So Fabio I would see at company meetings, but we'd also dialogue quite a bit. So he'd reach out to me to continue this, what do I do, almost like a mentor point of view of things as he tried to adjust to a bigger world and I guess more people with their fingers in the pie as he was trying to, set himself up for success in there as well. Other than that, with Fabio and Monica, there'd be the odd dinner when I'd come to town. I visited them at their home that they were renting in Woodland Hills, I think was at the time, and have dinner at their place or just a meet up, or we'd see each other at company events. Trendsetters, which was our reward recognition, piece as well. We would see each other then. But then I moved away to Australia, but Fabio and I at that point in time then just stayed in touch over career and personal stuff.
So were you his boss then, or did he report to you officially within the chain of command?
When he was in Canada, yes. Not in the U.S.
Okay. All right. Now I want to get to the time frame shortly before Fabio was killed. Were you out in LA for any reason to see him?
I was living in LA. Okay. I was working because then I came back from Australia, I believe it was in 2014, and remained until 2018. So I was already there for close to 2 years before he was killed.
Okay, so let's talk about the week or so before he was killed. Did you see him?
I did. I was invited over for, I think, lunch on a Saturday or a Sunday. I think it was the Sunday, to their place. I was in town alone. My wife was back in Canada.
When you say their place, was it their home on Queen Victoria?
On Queen Victoria, yes.
Okay.
That was their home.
When you went to lunch, was the defendant and Fabio both there?
Yes.
Okay, what did you do?
I think we had pizza, chit chat, and then Fabio took me to the garage and showed me a car that he got that I didn't know that he got. It was a Porsche, and then he took me out for a ride.
Okay, and what happened during that ride?
We talked a lot about the car, and I said, well, you know, when did you get this? And I think he said around Christmas. I said, wow, this is a really nice car. And then he went on to say, you know, Monica wasn't happy when I brought it home because I didn't tell her I bought it, and just brought it home. And then we talked a little bit about career stuff as well that we had started before Christmas. So he'd always take the opportunity to pick my brain on some things that he was thinking about.
After that visit, then, that was around, did you say January
15th,
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Did you see him again before he was killed?
I probably would have seen him just at the office earlier in that week, but then I went back to Canada for the following weekend, and then came back the Monday, the 23rd.
During that time frame, the week before, did you notice anything unusual about the relationship between the defendant and Fabio that caught your attention?
Oral.
So I'd always seen them as a very, over the years, from 2007 on, very loving couple, happy. It just seemed a little different, you know, to me. There was a little cold. There was, you know, his comment about, you know, what happened when he bought the car, and then he started talking about and asking for my advice about going back home to Canada, and would the company ever consider him taking over the country manager's job in Canada?
So during the week before he was killed, he asked you about going back to Canada?
Yes.
Okay. Did he elaborate why he wanted to go back?
He started talking about, he said it'd probably be good for the family, is what he said, for the girls, for Monica. And you know, he brought it up slightly before Christmas, and then brought it up again. And I said, Fab, you know, this is very different, that you're being serious about this. And as he explained, you know, that he wouldn't elaborate, he just said, be good for the family. I said, well, that's a big step back, right? So you had ambitions to move to Geneva. So I was just trying to figure out where his mindset was, and one day becoming the global education guy. And he said, you know, that's going to be hard. As much as it'd be great, that's going to be hard for me to pull off. But maybe I would consider taking a level down, you know, for that. And I said, well, if you're asking my opinion, would the company, said if there's one person in this type of work as a head educator that could pull off a country manager's job, it'd probably be you, with the experience that you've now had in the U.S. But you just need to understand some of the things that you have today, you won't have financially in the company in the level down. Because when I left Canada for Australia, they re-leveled the role down and made it a more integrated part of the North American business that required a lower level leader.
Prior to this conversation, then, a week before he was killed, had he ever talked to you about moving the family back to Canada?
No, it was just around that time, just before Christmas, and then when I came back and we were driving in the car, and it was the first time that he'd only ever talked about Geneva prior to that.
Were any of these conversations in front of Monica, the defendant?
No, they were always private conversations with me as a, call it, bounce off what he was thinking and what I would think would happen within the company.
Now, you talked about Christmas. What was the conversation back in before 2016 Christmas time?
Yeah, so he brought up this thing about Canada, you know, before, but he never really elaborated on the why, right? And he just asked about the opportunities back in, back in Canada, and said, you know, lots of things have changed. He's seen it change, you know, since I left. But it was the first time that he ever brought that up, because he's only ever talked about Geneva. But after Christmas, in the new year, is when he opened up that he seriously wanted to consider that.
And he said he thought it would be good for his family?
Yeah, that was the whole driver for it, because he was a very ambitious and extremely talented, individual, and I think the whole company saw that, including the leaders in Geneva, people that I interacted with as well. Because when we talked about the move to the U.S., he was identified as an individual that he was going to step in and then step very quickly into the full education leader job, which he did. And he learned very well. He was a great learner and wanted to learn the business side while keeping true to the creative stylist side of the business.
So in the scheme of the company and his progress in the company and career advancement, in your opinion, going back to Canada is a step back?
Yeah, it definitely be a step back. The company has very specific levels for jobs and what they're designated as, and that job would be designated as at least a step or two below where he was in the company.
In November of 2016, and this is before this Christmas time conversation, in November, were you on a trip for the company where the defendant and Fabio were present?
Yes.
What was that trip for the company?
For the company is our annual recognition trip for the top performers in the company. And we as leaders, department leaders, would always go because we're there to give the official awards to our individual team members and ensure that they are, I would say, enjoying themselves and the fruits of their hard work as well. And we would encourage everybody to bring a spouse or significant other or a son or a daughter to these things as well. We wanted to really make it a family thing.
So during that event, then was there social events such as dinners and things of that nature?
There was organized stuff, and then there was it was always designed to have some organized and lots of free time, because we didn't want to structure the employees. So here I am, I'm at a company work event again, and it was encouraged that people would stick together with their spouses or whoever they brought along to really not feel like they were working all day long.
Now, just during the work events, so the dinners, things of that nature, where was the company? Were you able to observe the interactions between Fabio and the defendant?
Yes. In particular, I was the MC of the final night, the awards night. So yes, I would have seen them there.
And how did they appear to interact with each other?
They appeared to interact, that evening. Great. The hotel, I actually called them both out from the mic and told the audience that this is a hotel where Monica and Fabio had their honeymoon when they were married and went to Hawaii. They danced up a storm, all night long.
While you were in Hawaii, then, did you and your wife then, was your wife with you?
Yes, she was.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you have any one-on-one interaction with the defendant and Fabio?
We did throughout, but the main night was when everybody was gone. We stayed on an extra night, and I believe they may have as well. And we had done something prior in Maui years before. We went out together as couples, just the four of us. Just everybody else is gone. The rest of the organization is gone as well. So now it's just us, and we are done. Fabio and I are done the work side of things.
And then did you go to dinner?
Yes, we did.
Okay, during that dinner, how was the interaction between the defendant and Fabio that you observed?
Very different than what I've experienced in the past.
How so?
It wasn't as social, it wasn't as interactive as we've had in the past or even the night before. Felt very cold, and it almost didn't happen because, Fabio said, I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off and that we're going to be able to make it, and said, it's up to you, and then we finally did at the hotel, but it just seemed more cold and distant.
And is that something that you noticed prior to this case ever coming to light?
No, it was very unusual.
Okay.
For them, and I think overall it was more of an unusual trip as well, other than the night of the awards night. It was like, there they are on stage dancing up a storm, and it was, yeah.
So the night that you had dinner when the company's not there, there's no party.
Yeah.
Did their relationship appear different to you as well?
Yeah, yes. That's what I was trying to say. It's very cold, different. It wasn't as social as it typically had been. Not a lot of laughter, and almost didn't happen.
Did you notice during this trip the defendant ever any of her actions?
Yeah, because there's a lot of downtime, as I said earlier, because the company didn't want to structure it. So we'd be sitting at the beach. You know, Fabio would be with his group of educators or other managers as well, and Monica spent a lot of time walking the beach with their on the phone and with their I guess earpods in or whatever the string earphones would be in, back and forth, and it was just again less group interaction at that time.
The day of the actual murder, January 23rd, 2017, how did you hear about it?
I had just gotten home from work. I flew in that morning, went to work, and then probably left around 5:30 or so. And I lived across the street from the office, walking distance.
And what city is this again?
In Woodland Hills. Okay. And so I could see it. And so I just hightailed it home with the time zone changes, dead tired. And then my colleague, Bob Lucian, called me, may have been just after 6 or so, and he said, Dave, you got to come back to the office. I said, what do I need to come back to the office for? I just got home. It's been a long day. And he said, you got to come back to Sal's office. And I was still not understanding why. And then, because I wasn't responding right away, he said, you know, Fabio's dead. Come back. We got to go. You got to come and we got to talk. And I went straight back to the office, to Sal's office, and Bob was already there. I think Henry eventually joined us as well. I know he was there when we left the office to go over to their place.
So you went with those other individuals?
Yeah, there was 4 of us.
To the Sementilli residence?
Yeah, it wasn't the residence. We didn't know what we were walking into because it was all taped off. We introduced ourselves to the officer where the yellow tape was, and he walked us up to a house across the street from the Sementilli residence.
Did you see the defendant that night then?
I did.
And how did she appear to you?
She appeared very distraught, a lot of heavy breathing, a lot of choppy words, and yeah, it was just shaking a lot.
Did you see any tears?
I don't recall seeing tears, just a lot of, heavy breathing and trying to get words out.
Do you recall anything about the conversation with her that night when you walked up and first met her?
I remember giving her a hug. There's all kinds of, people there, people behind her. There was the forest, and she hugged me back, and the only thing that I remember said, "I'm going to need your help with the company," and I said, "We're going to be, we're here to help you. Whatever we have to do, we're here," and that was about the extent of things that night.
Okay. Do you remember her saying anything to you about any requests for help that night?
Not as specific. There is, there's kept saying there's. I don't understand the company stuff, but it was like a very short conversation. But then we committed to coming back the next day, and then that's when we sat down.
The next day, then you went back to, was it the Sementilli house? To
the Sementilli house, and the day was whatever after the house, and I think the morning had been cleaned after the, detectives or forensic people, whoever had been there, and when they were allowed back in, we went back to the house and went actually into the house.
So that was on the 24th of January?
I believe it was the 24th. That Tuesday seems to ring a bell. If that was the day that they were allowed back in, we, I think, came that afternoon.
Who did you go with to the house?
I thought Sal was there, likely Henry, and I don't recall who else.
When you went to the house, then did you sit down and have a chance to actually talk with the defendant?
I did on the living room couch.
While you're on the couch with the defendant, who's involved in the conversation?
At that point, I think it was just myself and her. I think of the group, I'd probably be the more well known because I'd known them for a longer period of time than others. So from what I recall, it was the two of us, and then other people hovered around the island. Other people came in, sat there for a while, moved away. Yes.
So did you have you had a conversation with the defendant?
I did.
Can you explain what occurred in that conversation?
So she said, Dave, we're going to need some help. I don't understand, the company stuff that Sal had, and insurance, stocks, and stuff like that. I don't know how we're going to survive financially.
Did she ask you about life insurance?
I believe it was life insurance that she said, because she definitely said the company insurance, because the company did have policy for executives and employees of, I think it was 2 times salary or something like that was available to us, and she was asking about the insurance and how, but she doesn't know the details about it or how to access it or who to talk to, and I said, well, Henry is the one that is going to look after pulling everything together, and that would include the stocks, that stock plan that Fabio was in within the company, and the new Coty programs, as well.
So is it fair that she was expressing to you that she didn't know anything about?
Yes, and she was going to need help where to locate it.
One moment, I'm sorry. Overruled.
Let me rephrase that. Let me finish the question. Sorry, so we don't talk over each other for the court reporter. I guess my question is, did she, was she, based on what you just testified to, was it basically she was telling you she didn't understand how the insurance and all that worked?
Yes.
Okay.
It can be very complicated because there's so many different components to the company programs and what he signed up for.
Did she appear to think that he had? Did she say to you that she knew about his life insurance and just didn't know how it worked?
Yeah, it was more that it didn't know how everything worked.
Okay.
And needed help to what all the things were.
All right, and then what happened?
I had said to her that we have somebody here, Henry. He will pull all that stuff together for you. I don't know what the details are specifically. I know the different elements, but I don't know what Fabio had. But it's Henry's role, and when he's ready, he will come back and walk you through everything.
Now, this being the day after the murder that occurred, did you ever go out on the patio where Fabio had been killed?
Yes. So at one point in that afternoon, Monica wanted to go have a smoke, and that would have been taking us out to the patio.
Did she show you the actual location?
Yes, she said, and here's where they killed Fabio.
Okay, and was there anything that you noticed about that location?
I mean, all the furniture was set back where it normally is. I really struggled being there. I tried not to look at his chair.
Overruled.
Because to me it was a very uncomfortable place to be, and very, to me, odd. I didn't want to be there. in there was fine inside the house. I didn't want to be on the patio and be sitting across from where he would normally sit.
So the day after the murder, when she's showing you the chair where Fabio had been murdered, was she crying?
She was talking in chopped words, heavy breathing.
Did you see any tears?
No.
That chair, was there anything on the chair?
I don't recall there being anything on the chair that day. It was just an empty chair.
And did everything appear to be cleaned up?
Yes, everything seemed to be cleaned up. Around the whole house where we were, everything was sort of, clean.
And not to be too graphic, but you didn't see any blood outside?
I did not.
Okay, or inside?
No.
Was that the basis of your conversation with her that day, or was anything else of any significance that day?
That day, no.
Now, did you end up going back to the Sementilli residence?
I did.
When was that?
Probably a couple days later, maybe the Thursday. I think Henry, came as well, because the purpose is, Henry had an overview to share with Monica, and so I went over around that time. I don't know if we went in the same car, but we were definitely there for that purpose.
What do you mean an overview?
Henry's job was to pull together all of the components of Fabio's whatever stock options with the company, life insurance, any other. There was stuff because he was a Canadian employee, as I was. Canadian employees were on a different program before coming to the U.S. There was a different retirement program based there. All the value components that Henry was able to pull together. I didn't see them, but he had it on a spreadsheet to walk her through the details.
And this was then within the week of him being killed, is that correct?
Yes.
So were you present when Henry went over the benefits?
No, I went to talk to Monica first on the couch, and she said, she asked about the benefits and life insurance and stocks and stuff like that. And I said, well, that's what Henry is here for. He has everything ready for you to walk you through it. I know Fabio's sister Morella was there at the time. I can't remember if Monica's sister may have been there as well. And I said to her, so he's here ready to take you through all this. And she was, heavy breathing and distraught, I guess, and said, do you want Morella to come sit with you, while he walks you through that? Because, she didn't seem stable, I guess, to have somebody there with her as he walked her through the stuff. And she said no. And so I then walked over to Henry, and then they went off somewhere else in the house, and I don't know what happened from there.
Okay, and again, you said heavy breathing, things of that nature. You didn't describe any tears. Did you see any tears?
No.
Did you ever see the defendant crying with tears?
I wouldn't say with tears, but no.
You saw
But
heavy breathing?
Heavy breathing, grasping, short words.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other than when you had the conversations with her about benefits, insurance, things of that nature, did she ever ask you for anything else?
No, she never asked me for anything
Did she
else.
ever ask you for any help relocating from the residence?
No.
Did she ever ask you for any help with security in her residence or upgrading the security?
No.
Did you attend then the wake that they had in the backyard on January 29th, 2017?
I did.
And when you went to that wake, did you go there with anybody?
And I showed up by myself. Most everyone there I would know, whether it be family that was there, employees, some of the stylist group, contractors, and so on. So I knew most everybody, and so I went and then gathered with people that I knew.
So at this point, you had known Fabio since 2006,
6.
okay. So how big was this group of people that was there?
It was quite large. It was like the patio side had lots of people there all around the pool. The company had brought in, so all around the pool on the right, my right hand side of the pool, there was lots of tables, people, and a catering group doing tacos.
Exhibit 9 is up on the screen. It's the backyard patio. Do you recognize them?
Yes, absolutely.
You go through the house and come out the back door to the patio there.
Yes, yes, it did. That's the normal entrance, right? So through the kitchen, through that patio, and into the area I've been there many times.
When you walk onto the patio, you get in the kitchen, which is the furthest window that just leads off the patio. When you came out through the patio, is that where all the people were congregated?
There's quite a few people congregated there, and then all the way to the back, and all the way around the right-hand side.
Did you notice anything or someone that you didn't recognize?
Yes. I don't know who it was, but when I was walking through, I noticed someone, because most people there were people known to Wella, or known to me, either close or not close. But I didn't stay very long because that's still an area that was very uncomfortable being in. But I walked through that. When you see someone that you don't recognize, you sort of say, "I wonder who that is," and then I just kept walking, and then left that area, and then did not go back to that area.
What's been marked as People's Exhibit 46. Did you see this person there?
I believe that's the person I saw because I remember a guy in a leather jacket.
Is that the person that stood out to you as someone you didn't recognize?
Yes.
Now, when you came out through the patio, Exhibit 9 back up, page 19, where was he at?
I thought he was sitting down on a couch in the patio, or the patio.
There's a patio.
Yeah, with the chair on the other side. I thought he was sitting there as I walked through.
And that caught your attention?
Yeah, because again, everybody else, you're going through, you recognize people, and then you see someone that you don't recognize, but you don't necessarily know everybody. But
at the time that you saw him, did you see where the defendant was?
I don't recall.
Did you ever notice the defendant speaking with that individual?
No, because I stayed away from that area.
And then, if I may mark this People's Exhibit 107, it's a photograph of an individual circle that says Robert Baker at weight. It's page, it has a 6 in the bottom left corner, but it's Exhibit 107 if I marked it.
Yes.
Okay, just to orient them, there's an individual circle. Does that appear to be the same individual that you recognize in People's 46?
Yeah, so from the picture on the right where it's blown up, that looks more like the person I didn't recognize.
And then what's along the building right there? What was that, if you remember?
I don't know if there was food or drink in that area.
Okay, and then this chair right here, do you recognize that?
Yes, that was like Fabio's favorite chair where we would sit and watch TV and talk whenever we gather. That's usually where he sat.
And you had been there before and seen him sitting in that chair?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Was that kind of known as his chair?
Yeah, it's his chair.
Okay. What were the items on the chair right there? That's a grainy photo, so going back to your own memory of that night.
I think there was what I recall, there was a picture of him. I don't recall because again, as I walked by, I tried not to look at it. I can't remember, I think the cigar I gave him the week before, because I know he loved cigars, may have been on that chair as well. But again, I did not look at it in detail because I felt very uncomfortable in that space.
If I may mark this People's 108, photograph of a close-up of a chair with some items on it entitled Defendant Sementilli Shrine to Victim Fabio at Wake.
Yes.
Exhibit 108, from that night, is that what you recall doing in the chair?
Yeah, there was a bunch of things, but the picture I remember. The picture stood out because that's what caught my eye of Fabio.
Okay, that's a picture of Fabio.
Yes.
Now what about up here, this,
Yeah, of course, the big daddy there, because he wore that a lot. He took a lot of selfies on airplanes, with it. But yeah, that's.
did you ever see an Instagram post by the defendant of this chair? That you recall?
Yes.
If I may mark this people as 109, it is a photograph of the chair with the big daddy hat along with, to the right of it, Instagram business records.
Yes.
108, that chair, is that the chair?
That's the chair, and that's the cigar.
That's a cigar you gave
I
him?
think that was the Cuban cigar.
Okay, and that's the same big daddy hat that you always saw him in?
He wore that a lot.
After this wake, then, did you attend any of the other memorials for Fabio?
I attended the funeral in Toronto. I flew back for that funeral home and the church. I'm recalling the date of the company event with the tent outside of our Woodland Hills office. I attended that, but I didn't attend anything else in Canada other than the funeral home and the funeral.
After the memorials occurred, then did you continue to reach out to offer any assistance to the defendant?
I did I asked my wife Patty to reach out to her and say, whenever you come to town, reach out to Monica, and see if, get together with her for lunch, which she did, time, and then come mid-March, it just sort of stopped.
What do you mean it stopped? On
Well,
whose end?
when you're asked to, line something up with Monica, and said, well, no, she said she was busy.
Go ahead.
So, and said, so Patty, did you get a hold of her? And said, no, she's not able to. She's going to Las Vegas with some girlfriends to get away from everything. And then I think there was another attempt maybe around May, and she just wasn't available, and so no, and she didn't reach back out to me at all for anything, because the people who could immediately help were on it.
Okay, thank you very much. No more questions.
Across.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Perez. You were interviewed in this case for the first time in March of 2021.
I don't recall the dates, but may have been in March 21.
Do you recall that it was several years after the arrest, Monica was arrested?
Yes.
Were you interviewed more than one time by the detectives or the prosecutors in this case?
I don't recall that I was, but I don't recall.
Okay. When you were interviewed by the detectives and the prosecutors at that time, would you say your memory, being only maybe 3 or 4 years after the arrest, was better than as you sit here today?
I think of the things that I spoke of. These things were very clear to me, very embedded in my mind, because they're very specific moments. I think the only thing would be the evening of when we went to see Monica. I mean, that was your mind isn't always clear because there's so much going on, but the key points are very clear to me.
Sure. You testified about some conversations with Fabio in the winter of 2016 about considering going back to Canada. Right?
Yes.
You didn't tell the detectives or the prosecutors about those conversations when you were first interviewed in this case in March of 21, is that right?
I believe I may have.
Okay. You didn't subsequently provide that information to the prosecutors or the detectives at a more recent time from today's date?
No, because it was all from the original conversation. I believe I provided that.
Okay. And with respect to the 2016 Trendsetters event, is it your testimony that you also relayed to the detectives and the prosecutors when you were interviewed in March of 2021 about this dinner with yourself, your wife, and the Sementillis that you described as not so social or interactive?
Yes.
And you described that dinner there was something about it that was cold. Can you provide a little bit more detail on that?
Yeah, just there's usually a lot more for us. Fabio is very gregarious as an individual. There'd be a lot of joking around. It just seemed to be a quick evening that didn't seem like either one of them wanted to be at.
Okay, so it didn't seem like Fabio or Monica were there on themselves.
Correct. Unlike when we were in Maui together.
And Maui was several years prior to 2016?
Correct.
And that was also a Trendsetters event?
Correct.
Did Fabio share with you in the months prior to him being killed that he needed to slow down on his travel schedule with work?
No, he never said that.
When you went to the home the week before January 23rd and Fabio showed you his Porsche, he was kind of showing it off to you because he was really proud of the car.
Yes.
And did you ever have any conversations with Monica about what Fabio told you?
No.
On the night of January 23rd, you had gone over to the Sementilli home and you had testified that you had seen Monica and you had given her a hug, given her situation,
Yeah.
right? And that you said to her, we're all here to help, speaking on behalf of the company.
I did after she said, I'm going to need your help.
Okay, because I thought when you testified previously, you offered to her, we're here to help, and then you testified she made no request to you for any help that evening.
No, didn't make requests other than I'm going to need your help, right? And I said, we are all here to help you.
And you understood Monica, strike that. The next day, you testified that the next day you also went back to the Sementilli home.
Yes.
Did you do that on your own accord, or did anybody ask you to do that?
No, it was when we had a long night and we agreed as a lead team that we would go back and again to figure out what help looked like and so on. And given that I had the longer relationship with the family, I was to go to her first, but I again believe that I didn't go alone, that Henry and a few others would have gone as well.
And you testified that when you spoke with Monica on the living room couch, just the two of you, that she was telling you that she doesn't know any of the details about the benefits and the life insurance and anything related to company and the employment benefits. Is that right?
Correct.
And you had actually told her not to worry, there's going to be somebody who can help you understand all of this.
Correct.
Because she didn't know what
Yeah,
all this
that's
was.
what she said, what that was and what the life insurance was and how it worked and who to go to. That's what she asked.
And you understood from that conversation that she didn't know all of the things. I think that's what was.
Yeah, she didn't know the
words.
details of it. She knew that it seemed like she knew that it existed, but she didn't know the details and where to go for it.
Well, how do you know that why do you say it seemed like she knew it existed if she told you?
Because she
didn't
asked
understand?
me about when you bring up, the company life insurance and the stock stuff. I just don't know where to go for all that.
You have you're talking before the question is done. I understand you completely, but the reporter, as good as she is, going to take down one person at a time.
Okay.
You're going to leave, counsel's going to leave, and I'm going to get nagged at for the rest of my life. So do me a favor. Wait till counsel's done.
Okay, so just to go back to that last question, I had asked you what made you said it seemed like she knew it existed, and can you just, but let me rephrase the question.
Okay.
When you spoke with Monica on that living room
Yes.
couch, she
Yes.
told you that she didn't know what all the details were and she didn't understand what any of this stuff was that the company had, if anything.
No, she said specifically those items that I'd shared, but she didn't know how it all worked and who to contact or how to get the information on it.
And you took it upon yourself to get in touch with a gentleman by the name of Henry because you understood Henry would know all of those answers.
Yeah, Henry was already, there, and yes, so Henry being the head of HR would have access to all that information, the details of it. I know the broad stuff of it, but I don't know Fabio's details because it's private.
Right. On that same day, you testified that you had gone outside at one point with Monica, and isn't it true that Sal Macheri also had gone outside with the two of you?
I believe Sal was as well. Yeah.
And am I correct that Sal Macheri actually sat down in that patio area?
So we all sat down in that patio area across from the chair, and maybe Monica had even sat in the chair, but we were taken out there because she wanted to go have a smoke and talk out there.
Didn't Sal Macheri sit in the actual chair when you guys went out on the patio that
I
day?
don't recall that he did.
Okay. When you went back a second time a couple days later with Henry Meyer so that Henry Meyer could provide an overview to Monica.
Yes.
And did you see, so at this point, you've only seen Monica a total of 3 times after January 23rd, including January 23rd.
That week, yes.
And did you see her at any point after this up until June of 2017?
We would have seen each other at funeral, the event at our office. We came back on a weekend, I believe, with food from our education team as well. That we brought food over to their place as well. Yes.
Okay, and the prosecutor asked you a couple times about your observations of Monica and whether you had seen any actual crime. You remember?
Yes.
But you weren't with Monica that many times between January 23rd and the days and the weeks following every single day, right?
Not every day, but the days that I just respond to the days that I was with her that week.
Okay, so you can't speak to what was happening before you actually were physically with Monica with respect to her emotional state.
Only the points that I was with her.
And just to confirm, you also testified that Monica never asked you specifically for any help with anything other than the 2 conversations you've spoken about.
Correct. Only specifically on those items.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Anything with other people?
The conversation that when the defendant told you she doesn't know anything about the benefits, did she tell you, this is Exhibit 96, did she discuss with you at all that Fabio had actually sent her an email with multiple pages outlining all of the benefits?
No.
Did she ever discuss that coming from Coty and D&G?
No.
And in fact, in the last page is all the contact info. Do you recognize this kind of document?
Yeah, I recognize that kind of document, yes.
Okay, and that was sent on May 17, 2016 from her husband. Did she ever tell you that again then on October 4th, 2016, once again, Fabio forwarded her the benefits breakdown to her email? Did she ever mention any of that?
No.
Okay. I have no more questions.
Just briefly, this is what the prosecutor just showed you. You obviously have no idea whether or not Monica viewed either of those emails, right?
Wouldn't know.
Anything further?
Nothing further.
Thank you, sir. You are excused. Let's take our morning recess for 15 minutes. The exhibition applies. See you back here in 15.